Good morning, children. In the last class, we have learned the first four questions of chapter 2, which explain about electrostatic potential, electrostatic potential difference, and how to represent electrostatic potential in terms of source charge and electrostatic potential at any general point due to electric dipole, and the different forms of electrostatic potential. Now the fifth question is, what is an equipotential surface, and explain the important properties of equipotential surfaces. The word equipotential surface itself means that the potential on the same surface due to the source charge at every point is equal. So an equipotential surface is that surface at every point of which the electric potential is the same. So this is equipotential surface. Now to make it more clear, let us consider this is a source charge plus Q and 2 points A and B which are at the same distance from the source charge, and let the distance be R. According to the definition of electrostatic potential, potential at A will be KQ by R, Q the source charge divided by R, and same way the potential at point B is also KQ by R. So the potential difference between these 2 points, that is VA minus VB, it is KQ by R. Actually it is VA equal to VB. It's not VA minus VB, it is VA equals to VB because the potential at both the points is the same. So this is VA equals VB. And according to the definition of potential difference, this VB minus VA is W by Q naught to take the charge from A to B. And since the potential at B and A is the same, so the work done is equal to 0. So from this we conclude the first property for equipotential surface. It's a very, very important property which you can get it for 1 mark in any form. Means you need to understand the question. The thing is that when the potential at the points when it is same and when the points are at equal distance from the source charge, work done to take the charge from one point to the other point is equal to 0. So the first property says no work is done in moving the test charge from one point of equipotential surface to the other. Now then for the second property, if we assume dl is a small distance over the equipotential surface through which unit positive charge is carried, so dw, it is equal to E dot dl. Work done is the scalar quantity and it is the dot product of E, that is force into displacement, but force here is Q into E, and Q naught is the test charge which we take it as unit positive charge. So that is why it comes out equal to E dot dl. So let this AB be equal to dl. So this dw, when we use the concept of scalar product, it is E dl cos theta. Now E dl cos theta, it is equal to 0. Why? Because work done to take the charge from one point to the other point on an equipotential surface is 0. So work done is 0. So E dl cos theta is 0. And when can be E dl cos theta 0? Here E is not 0 because there is electric field due to static charge. dl is the distance, so what should be 0? Cos theta must be equal to 0. And when is cos theta 0? When theta is equal to 90 degree. So what is this theta? Theta is the angle between the electric field and dl. Now here the direction of dl is from A to B, and the direction of electric field, it is along this direction. Already in the first chapter we learned how to sketch electric field lines due to q greater than 0. When it is q greater than 0 means q is positive. The direction of electric field is radially outward. So this is the direction of electric field and this is the direction of dl. So already we proved that the direction of electric field and dl, the angle between these two, it is 90 degree. So this is the direction of dl at this particular point A is along the tangent. So the angle between this dl and E, this angle is 90 degree. So we concluded a very important, the second property for equipotential surface is that the electric field is perpendicular to the equipotential surface. Very important property. First property is that work done to take the charge from one point to the other point on a equipotential surface is 0. Equipotential surface. The second property is that the direction of electric field and equipotential surface, it is 90 degree. So here this is the second property. Electric field intensity is always normal to the equipotential surface. So these are the two important properties for equipotential surface. Now then, like for 1 mark question and all, sketch equipotential surface for a single point charge. Again, there are two cases when q greater than 0. Q greater than 0 means it is positive charge. And for a positive charge, the direction of electric field, it is radially outwards. And these are the equipotential surfaces. S1, S2, S3 and so on. So this direction of electric field and equipotential surface, they are perpendicular. So whenever you get to sketch equipotential surface for any case, this you have to keep it in your mind that the electric field and the surface must be perpendicular. This is the field and this is the surface. So this is at this point, it is along the tangent. So it is at an angle of 90 degrees. So it is q greater than 0. Similarly for q less than 0. Q less than 0 means the source charge is negative. So the direction of electric field, it is pointed radially outwards along the, radially inwards along the radius and towards the center. But the potential equipotential surfaces are similar. The only difference is that there for q greater than 0, the direction of field, it was pointed radially outwards, and here for q less than 0, the direction of electric field is radially inwards. So this is q less than 0. Then the seventh question is equipotential surface for a uniform electric field. Now you know how to represent a uniform electric field by parallel lines equally spaced. Uniform electric field means the strength of electric field at all points, it is uniform. So this is very simple. Direction of electric field is this, and these are the equipotential surfaces. So equipotential surfaces and the electric field. So the seventh question. Now this is a home assignment for you. To sketch equipotential surface for an electric dipole. Already you know what is electric dipole. It's a system of two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance. So means it is for your home assignment, try to complete that. Then again for the ninth question is to get a relation between electric field intensity and electric potential, and to prove that electric field intensity is equal to the negative of potential gradient. So again means such you need to understand this particular question, because here it is electric field intensity equal to negative of potential gradient. The word potential gradient means it is fall of potential with the distance. The word gradient means it is the fall of potential with distance. In 11th, we have learned about temperature gradient. Like that, wherever you get like the gradient word, it is fall off. Here it is fall of potential with distance. So here E is minus dV by dr. Already in the first chapter we learned that is the root formula for electric field is E equal to F by Q naught. From there, what is the SI unit? Newton per coulomb. So here also we are going to get one more unit for electric field. You will learn one more unit for electric field intensity, and both it is the same. And this proof will be taking the help of this equipotential surface and all. Here, this is the source charge, and this is one surface S1, the second surface S2. And this is point A on surface S1 and point B on surface S2. The direction of electric field is along this direction. Let AB be dx, and let the potential difference between these two surfaces, let it be dV. So hope the diagram is clear. The distance between A and B is dx, and the potential difference between the two surfaces is dV. This is the direction of electric field. Why the direction of electric field is outwards? This is because here it is plus Q. So plus Q, the test charge S1 and S2, pair of adjacent equipotential surface with potential difference dV. dx is separation between points A and B situated at S1 and S2 respectively, and E is the direction of electric field. Again, concept of electrostatic potential difference is that VB minus VA is W by Q. Here VB minus VA. We are going to carry charge from A to B. So B will be at higher potential and A at lower potential. So VB minus VA is W by W by Q. And what is this difference in potential between the 2 points on S1 and S2? That I write it as minus dV. Why again minus dV? Because potential is decreasing with distance. So minus dV dW by dQ. So what we get here, dW is minus Q dV. Again the dot product concept, dW is F dot dx, force dot dx, F dx cos theta. But what is F is Q into E. F is Q into E, dx cos theta. But here what is the angle between the between this electrostatic force and dx? Theta is equal to 0. So theta 0, and it is what we get for theta 0. In that case, cos 0, it is 1. So dw is equal to qe dx. This is equation 1 and this is equation 2. So from equation 1 and 2, a very important one more formula for electric field, which comes out equal to minus dV by dx. Fall of potential with distance. So fall of potential with distance is known as potential gradient. So one more unit for this, what do you say, for electric field, that is volt per meter. Volt per meter. So 2 SI unit, you can write the SI unit of electric field in two ways. One is Newton per coulomb, another one is volt per meter. So this is hope it's clear to you about what is equipotential surface and how to represent electric field as a negative of potential gradient. Then it is the 10th question is derive an expression for electrostatic potential energy of a system of 2-point charges. Potential energy of a system of 2-point charges. So the 2-point charges, I take it as Q1 and Q2. Q1 at point A, Q2 plus Q2 at point B. The distance between A and B is R12, and here again we have to we will be considering two equations. One is for the potential at point B due to this plus Q1. So what is potential at point P due to this plus Q1? Potential at B due to plus Q1 at point A, K Q upon R. But here K, this Q is Q1 and R, the separation. of point B from A, that is R12. So this is the first equation. Again, we assume that this Q2 is at infinite. So the amount of work done to bring this Q2 from infinity to point B is also the potential at point B. So here in terms using that concept, potential at point B is work done to bring Q2 from infinite to point B. So whether in this case or in this case, both is potential at B. So I represent this as equation 2. I repeat here, potential at point B due to this Q1 is KQ1 by R12. Then again, to take this charge Q2 from infinite to point B, the amount of work done is equal to the potential at point B. So this I represent it as equation 2. Again, equating both these two equations, I get it as work done to take the charge from infinite to point B is, I write it as KQ1 Q2 upon R12. This work done is stored in the form of electrostatic potential energy U in the system of 2-point charges. So here, this is what is this concept here? It is electrostatic potential energy for a system of 2-point charges. So when you learn each question, you should know, you should understand means how we are representing electrostatic potential in different forms for different cases, and what are the concepts, all the concepts and cases related to it. Now, so it's very important. You have to highlight all the forms that we are getting for each cases. Question number 11 is about conductors, properties of conductors or electrostatics of conductors. Now, why we have come immediately after the 10th question, the 11th question is conductor. Now, we are going to learn about the capacitors also. So, for learning about the capacitors, we should know about conductors. So, and that is the reason why the properties of conductors should be very clear. First property is that in electrostatic equilibrium, the electric field is zero everywhere inside the conductor. Capacitors uses static charges, and static charges we are learning in electrostatics. That is why we are introducing this conductors and capacitors now. Okay. Capacitors uses static charges, and static charges comes in electrostatics, and that is why I'm going to introduce about conductors and capacitors immediately after the 10th question. So first property is that we are going to prove the net field inside the conductor is zero. This concept is also used for electrostatic shielding. The field inside any conductor is zero. Now again, let me consider E naught, the external electric field. E naught is the external electric field, and A, B, C, D is a conductor in an external electric field. So free electrons in the conductor move from AB to CD. Free electrons in this conductor has free electrons. So the free electrons in the conductor, it moves from AB to CD. The net negative charge on CD and an equal positive charge appear on AB. So when electrons move, due to induction, positive charge on side AB and the negative charge on side CD. These charges are called induced charges. So this induced charges, they produce induced electric field. The direction of the induced electric field is from positive to negative. So you have to be careful. The direction of the applied electric field is from positive to negative, and that is represented by E naught. And these charges are known as induced charges. And the direction of induced electric field is from positive to negative. Now what happens? the stage comes when the induced electric field becomes equal and opposite to the applied electric field. So they become opposite to the direction of applied electric field, which opposes the flow of electrons from AB to CD. The flow stops when the induced electric field becomes equal to the applied electric field. They are opposite, and at the stage comes when they become equal. Okay, they are opposite. The induced electric field and the applied electric field, they are opposite, and a stage comes when they are equal also. At this stage, the net field becomes zero. So the net field inside the conductor is zero. So this is means the first property. Second property is that electric field just outside a charged conductor is perpendicular to the surface of the conductor at every point. Means the direction of electric field is always perpendicular to the surface of the conductor. Now, here we know that in electrostatic condition, once the charges on the conductor are rearranged, the flow of charges stops and there is no surface current in electrostatics. Means once the charge gets arranged on the surface of the conductor, then the flow stops. Why? Because we know in electrostatics there is no current. And what is that current? Known as surface current. It means that E cos theta must be equal to 0. Suppose I take not the direction of electric field, not like this. I take the direction of electric field somewhere like this. So what will be this E cos theta? And theta is the angle between the direction of electric field which I am assuming and that direction of electric field making an angle theta with the surface of the conductor. So we know that this E cos theta must be 0. Why? Because E cos theta in electrostatic there is no surface current, so E cos theta must be equal to 0. And E cannot be equal to 0, so cos theta is equal to 0. And when is cos theta equal to 0? When theta is equal to 90 degree. So here it is very important, the direction of electric field is always perpendicular to the surface of the conductor. First property, inside the conductor the net field is 0. Second property is that the direction of electric field is always perpendicular to the surface of the conductor. So this is the second property, perpendicular to the surface of the conductor at every point. Third property is that net charge in the interior of a conductor is 0. Net charge. You learned the field is 0. Electric field is perpendicular to the surface, and third property is that net charge in the interior of the conductor is 0. Now again, Gauss's theorem, in the first chapter we learned E dot ds, surface integral of electric field over a closed surface is 1 by epsilon times the total charge enclosed in the surface. So if E is equal to 0, definitely Q also will be equal to 0. So the net charge inside the conductor, is 0. Okay, so E0, this E is perpendicular to the surface of the conductor, Q also 0, the third property. Now the fourth property comes that electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of the conductor and has the same value as on its surface. Just now we learned that electric field is negative of potential gradient minus dV by dr. And we learned that E inside the conductor is 0, the first property. That is dV by dr is 0. And when dV by dr is 0, what is this constant? When volume is constant. This is V, capital V. Therefore, volume is constant. So electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of the conductor. Here, so how many properties you have learned? It is 4 properties. 4 properties. First property is that E is 0. Second property is that E is perpendicular to the surface of the conductor. Third property is that Q net is 0 because E is 0, Q net is 0, Gauss's theorem. And the fourth property is that volume remains constant throughout the volume of the conductor. The potential remains constant throughout the volume of the conductor. potential remains constant throughout the volume of the conductor, that is inside as well as on the surface of the conductor. So these are the very important properties for the conductors. Now here we come, as I already told you, because for introducing capacitors, you should know about conductors and the properties. And also means after two questions, we'll be learning about dielectric also. Why? Because how dielectric affects the capacitance, we'll be learning that. Now, what is electrical capacitance of a conductor and what are the factors on which it depends? Electrical capacitance is the capacity. It is the capacity or the ability of a conductor to store charge in it. Electrical capacitance of a conductor is its ability to store electric charge or energy. So if Q is the charge given to the conductor and V is its potential, then the formulae for the capacitance, that is means what the principle of the capacitor is that Q is proportional to V, or Q is equal to C into V. So what is the C known as? It is constant of proportionality and is called electrical capacitance of the conductor. Here this capacitance is charged by potential. As I already told, means whenever I introduce a new parameter or a new quantity, I say it has a basic meaning and it has a basic formulae or a root formulae. So the root formulae for capacitance is charged by potential. And this is the principle of any capacitor. The charge given to a capacitor is directly proportional to the potential difference between the plates of the capacitor. Actually, what this capacitor consists of two conductors. One, it's if it is a single conductor, then the second conductor we assume that it is at infinite. So there is a potential difference between the two conductors. V is a potential difference between the two conductors. The capacitance of a conductor is defined as charge required to increase the potential of the conductor by unit amount. So this is the way you can define capacitance also. The factors on which it depends, it is size and shape of the conductor and the nature of the surrounding medium. Now again, so hope it is clear about capacitors. It is a capacitor. It uses the concept of electrostatic. It uses the concept of static charge. Sorry. So here means and what is this capacitor? It is the ability to store electric charge. This is the principle of a capacitor. Charge stored is proportional to potential difference. Removing the proportionality sign, constant, which is known as constant of proportionality. So C is charged by potential and the factors on which it depends. Now the unit of capacitance and dimension. SI unit is farad and dimension, that is this is the dimension. Please check the dimension using this equation. So hope you can find what is the dimension. Question number 13. Derive an expression for the capacitance of an isolated spherical conductor of radius r. Isolated spherical conductor. So just now I told you actually capacitor consists of two conductors. But here we are going to consider here a spherical conductor, assuming that the second conductor it is at infinite. Okay, second conductor at infinite. So Q is the charge uniformly Q the charge given. It gets uniformly distributed over its entire surface, and we assume that the charges, they are concentrated at the center of the sphere. They are uniformly distributed, but we assume that they are concentrated at the center of the sphere. R the radius of the sphere and V the potential at any point on the surface of the conductor. And as we know what is potential due to a source charge, kq by r. So capacitance of a spherical conductor is given as C equal to Q by V. From where? From here. Now this remember, this is the base formula. This is the base formula for the capacitance. This is the base formula for the capacitance. So from here we get it as C is Q by V. But what is V again? KQ by R. So two equations. One equation KQ by R. Second equation C is Q by V. And in this V, we substitute this equation. So after substituting, we get C is 4 pi epsilon naught R. So again, C 4 pi epsilon naught R for which case? For an isolated conductor, for an isolated spherical conductor. From these two equations, capacitance 4 pi epsilon naught R. Now, how to find the capacity of the earth? Earth radius is 6.4 into 10 raised by 6 meter. So when we substitute this radius of the earth in this equation, we get the capacitance as 711 microfarad. Earth, such a big size, and we cannot construct a capacitor of size greater than the size of the earth. So, and for earth itself, the capacitance is coming as in microfarad. So, the farad is a too big unit of capacitance. So, it is not possible to construct a capacitor of capacitance in farad. So all smaller units, microfarad, like you have 1 millifarad is 10 raised power minus 3 farad. 1 microfarad 10 raised power minus 6 farad. 1 nanofarad 10 raised power minus 9 farad. A very important point to note here is that it is difficult to construct a capacitor with capacitance in farad because we have proved it in this particular steps, taking the value of radius of the earth and substituting it here. So this is about the capacitance of an isolated spherical conductor of radius r. Then the next question is, we have three types of capacitors: parallel plate, spherical capacitor, cylindrical capacitor. Parallel plate, all these three capacitors has two plates. Parallel plate, the plates are parallelly placed. Spherical capacitor, the plates are in spherical form, and cylindrical capacitor, the plates are in cylindrical form. In any case, the principle of a capacitor is, this you have to learn it, and in detail means you just go through, there is a description given, just go through. I hope you will understand that. But the principles, this is only the statement. Capacitance of an insulated conductor is increased by bringing near it an uncharged conductor connected to earth. So when an uncharged conductor is connected to earth, the second capacitor also will get charged. One side negative, the other side positive, and the positive charge will go to the earth. So such an arrangement of two conductors separated by a medium is said to form a capacitor or a condenser. So we can increase the capacitance of a capacitor. We can increase the capacitance of a capacitor by bringing a uncharged conductor near to a charged earth, uncharged conductor near to a charged conductor. So children, hope till here it is clear. This we have completed today 15 questions. Now the remaining questions in one more class I'll explain and make it clear to you. So whatever we have learned it about the capacitors means and about the properties of conductors and the principle of capacitor, and all the questions before that is learn it, and after that I go remaining question in the next class. Thank you, children.